Hey, Tyler.
Hi.
So you're walking the dog, so I know you don't have a lot of time to talk, but it's really important that I reach you. Listen, okay? You are one of the most financially intelligent people I know, and I've always respected that about you. When you told me you didn't like your job, were you serious? Were you serious or joking around?
If my employer watches this, I did not say that.
Okay, but here's the thing is, if you don't like your job, I have found an exit strategy. I have a CD that describes what I'm talking about better than I can. If I gave you the CD, would you listen to it?
I have a disc drive. Do you have a disc drive? We don't own a disc drive.
Okay, but when do you think you could listen to it by?
Never. I don't have a disc drive.
Would Tuesday work?
No?
So, but if I called you Wednesday, will you have listened to the CD by then?
No?
Okay, I'll get back to you on Wednesday. What's the best number for me to call?
I live with you.
Hey, Chewie. I'm gonna read you the good friend one. Hey, Chewie. Hey, Chewie. Okay, I'm running out the door, as you know, because it's gonna be to take you on a walk. I'm running out the door, but I need to talk to you real quick. Chewie, do you have a second? Chewie? Chewie, you've always been supportive of me, and I appreciate that so much. I've started a new business, and I'm really nervous. Chewie, wow, you are just so rude. You don't even listen. But Chewie, I'm in a hurry to go take you on a walk. So before I get going, I need to practice on someone friendly. Would you mind if I practiced on you?
Why are you sales pitching?
Today we're going to be reviewing the book GoPro. Unfortunately, I couldn't film this video on a GoPro because I don't own one. But regardless, we're going to be reviewing GoPro by Eric Worre. Now, the other week we reviewed the book Authorpreneur by Jesse Warren Tevelow. And in that book, we talked about, right, how the author world, if there's too much of this course selling, I'll link that video up in the cards if you haven't seen it. We talked about how if there's too much of this course selling and then it leads to selling people on how to run courses, it's going to eventually become a pyramid shape. Eric Worre is this in action. Now, this dude is not just an MLMer. This dude is not just a network marketing professional. This dude is not just sitting at the top of the pyramid. This dude created a pyramid of pyramids below himself. And what I mean by that is this dude, Eric Worre, does not just work for an MLM. He does not just recruit people into MLM, but his service is coaching people in how to get better at selling for MLMs. How many layers of pyramid do we have to get through before we get to the top where Eric Worre sits at the pointiest part of the pyramid, which is just slid right up his butthole? That's what we're going to talk about today, Mr. Eric Worre. I've got so many anti-MLM YouTubers I need to shout out who made this video possible for me. Biggest shout out right now is going to Kat Benson, who sent me this book. Linked in the description below, you will see the channel Unlocked Nutrition, which is run by Kat Benson, who is a licensed nutritionist and is, able to actually give nutrition advice. So, when people talk about Beachbody and that kind of shit, she's over here like, no. So she had a copy of this book, and she was like, she knew I was doing some book review videos, reviewing some books by MLMers and scammers and that kind of thing, and she's like, you want to review this book by Eric Worre, the king of them all? And I was like, I will review it. Y'all, this book was less than 150 pages, but this took me hours and hours to read. Why? Because almost every page I had to stop and write notes on. This book is so marked up. In fact, some pages I just had to stop and draw a vomit emoji. I just had to stop and draw a vomit emoji on some pages because, oh my God, there was like not a page that went by where I wasn't just like, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this doesn't make sense, this doesn't connect to what you were saying before, this is just incorrect, this is not backed up with any evidence. Like, Eric, what are you doing? So after a while, I just had to like skim a few pages to be like, because I can't just sit here and read the whole book to you. But I am going to be doing a very in-depth review. Let's get the quality of the book, the star rating out of the way. This is a 1-star book. This book sucks ass. This is, I can't tell if it's worse than Be Obsessed or Be Averaged by Grant Cardone, because Be Obsessed or Be Average, I was like, this is the worst book of 2020. I cannot finish this book. But at least it was, like, ridiculous enough to keep me laughing. Like, when he would just be like, feed the beast! Feed the beast! Feed the beast! Or when he would be like, don't just drink the Kool-Aid, inject it into your veins. Like, when he would say such off-the-wall shit like that, I was like, at least this is entertaining. This book was just wrong thing after wrong thing after wrong thing. But for you guys, I read the entire thing and we're going to go through it. We're going to talk a little bit about who Eric Worre is. We're going to talk about how he's one of the worst people out there, and maybe I will have to, when I do my second Business Guru tier ranking video, I will have to include him in that one, because, this dude. Before I get too fired up, and before all of my iced coffee is gone, let's get into the intro.
Hit you some nuts.
There was lots of memes. Makes me wonder if I should pick up lesbianism.
Chicago. You guys asked for it.
What's up, my fellow small business supporters? It's Savvy. Welcome to Savvy Writes Books. On this channel, we talk about books, writing, small business owner life, and anti-MLM stuff, anti-pyramid scheme stuff. We roast business scammers. We call out entrepreneurial scams, because here's the thing, y'all. I'm an author who's also a small business owner. Check out foreverhomefriends.com, linked in the description below. I write and produce a series of books based on real rescue dogs and their stories of getting adopted. And for me, it's like MLMs and these people who are trying to, like, infiltrate the world of self-starters and creative people who want to start something entrepreneurial. It's predatory. I cannot stand it, and something must be done. But, oh, get ready, because, dude, Eric Worre, this dude bashes small businesses out the ass and then says that network marketing is better than running a small business. At least he doesn't claim it is a small business. Like, at least he doesn't claim it is. He tries to claim it's better, but does nothing to prove it, which we will get into. But first, let's talk real quick about who Eric Worre is. Quick shout out, the YouTuber, the Antibot, who is one of my friends, who is one of my favorite creators in this community, who makes excellent videos about anti-MLM and exposing scams and those kind of things. She has done a video on Eric Worre, and so I'll link her channel in the description below. Definitely check it out if you haven't already. And then also one other shout out to my friend Monica, because she and I encountered Eric Worre when we were doing our collab about Tony Robbins. Oh, because Eric and Tony, they're like this, dude. They're BFFs. They're out here scamming the world with toxic positivity together. And so we encountered him there and we were like, dude! So shout out to Monica as well. She is like, if you guys aren't subscribed to her, I've linked her in the description below as well. Let's take a look at Eric Worre. So the first place I went is LinkedIn. This is Eric Worre on LinkedIn. He is a network marketing strategist and trainer to millions of top earners. He is the founder of networkmarketingpro.com. He is like the pyramid that encapsulates that pyramid. It's like he is the trainer to the network marketing sellers that they have to also pay him in addition to their upline. Eric Worre is the world's most watched and trusted resource for network marketing training and support. You got a source for that? Only people who are like the best. It's like when I was reviewing Grant Cardone at the World Financial Group conference and he was like, #1 sales trainer in the world. Like, got a source for that? I didn't vote for you. In 2010, he created GoPro Recruiting Mastery that has grown to the largest in network marketing history. Over 8,000 attended in 2015, and the next event in December 2016 has over 17,000 registered. I don't know if you know this, but December 2016 was almost 4 years ago, so did those people actually come? You might want to update your LinkedIn, bud. If you're a pro, if you're Mr. Business Guru, you'd think your LinkedIn would be up to date, just saying. The Network Marketing Pro community has grown to over 1 million leaders from over 100 countries. So real quick, this blog, which I will link in the description below, called The MLM Syndrome, I also found on here from 2017 this post about Eric Worre that I thought I'd read to you guys real quick just for a little more context before we go into his hot mess dumpster fire of a book. He started his career with prepaid legal services, which is also known as Legal Shield. Legal Shield, y'all! One of those culty MLMs, right? Legal Shield, damn. And ended with Send Out Cards. I don't know that one. If anyone knows what Send Out Cards is, let me know. He's one of the few MLM trainers that seems to actually have an extended experience with this industry. Eric's history is a bit confusing. I completely left off his website. I love the shade in that crossed out thing. I don't know if that means that it's on his website now, but I like it either way. It appears he started a company called The People's Network in the mid-90s with Jeff Olson, CEO of Nerium, and Paul Meyer, and then sold it to PLS, which again is Legal Shield, in 1998. TPN was a MLM that focused on selling satellite services and self-help channels. There's not much information about TPN, and there's another organization called The People Network that also uses the acronym TPN, which makes this more confusing. Let me know in the chat what you think, but Eric Worre doesn't sound like that good of a businessman to me. Does he sound like a good businessman to you? Because this all sounds like a mess. I am linked this blog post in the description below, and then on there you can also find their sources and check that all out as well. But now that we've kind of taken a little look at the history of Eric Worre, who he is, how he seems to be kind of shady, let's talk about his book and remove all doubt. Just like my recent review of Rachel Hollis's book, Didn't See That Coming, I started having things to criticize in this book before we even got to the title page, before we even hit page 1, before the book started. You open up the book, right? What do we have here? A page of testimonials of people talking about how great this book is. Okay. That's fair, because maybe you saw this book in, like, I don't know, an airport bookstore or something, and you want to know if it's worth your time, so either on the back of the book or maybe in this page right here, you see a few people's reviews. Fine. And then we turn to the next page. Oh, we got some more reviews on both of these next pages. All right, so 3 pages of reviews. That's, it's a little much. Like, I'm already holding this book in my hand. I don't need to know what every single person says about this book. But I'm sure on the next page the book's gonna start, so no worries, right? No, in fact, we have 2 more pages of reviews. So now we're up to 5 pages of reviews. Five pages, y'all, so far. And it's like, okay, clearly if you're this far into the book, you already have the book in some capacity, whether you've bought it or whether you're reading it. Like, this is really unnecessary. So then we turn the page again. Oh, what is this? This is more? We've got more just testimonials. We've got more reviews of this book that I'm already holding in my hand. Okay. And then 1 more before the title page. 8 pages! 8 pages of testimonials for a book I'm already reading! Eric! Was this just trying to pad out space so you didn't feel like you had to write as much? Probably, because on the beginning of the acknowledgements, he says, I'm not a writer. So maybe. So we'll start with the introduction. In this review, I'm just going to kind of go through the book in order because there's something on most pages we need to talk about, and I want to try to keep this as concise as possible. So I need to take a breath so that I can just talk as much as I need to. Real quick, while I'm taking a breath. This video was brought to you by my Patreon supporters. Please check out the description below, and on the screen right here, all my Patreon supporters' names are listed. Check out the description below where all of their links are. Like, for all my top tier patrons who do $5 a month or more, I've got links for their online stores and their, their businesses or their social media or their channels. So check them out. Thank you so much to all my Patreon supporters for being a small business supporter. I love you guys. So we're in the introduction of this book, and the first page, what I noticed is that he starts hitting us with that appeal to emotional manipulation from page 1. Or I guess from page VII, from page Roman numeral 7, because, this is still the intro. We're not even technically at page 1 yet, which page 1 is technically the beginning of chapter 1, which I drew a vomit emoji on. He talks about the first day he was introduced to network marketing back in 1988. And he says, I was newly married with a little boy. I was already behind on my bills and I was scared. The year before I had earned about $45,000 in real estate commissions, which was a good thing. The problem was that I had spent about $60,000 and I didn't have money to pay my taxes, which will be due in just a few months. So he's already setting up like, I had no money. I needed someone to throw me a lifeline. 2 pages later, we're still in the intro. We're not even in chapter 1 yet. He talked about like how at the beginning of network marketing, he was doing really well, and then he dropped off and wasn't making a lot of money. And what he says right here in this highlighted section is, I started to blame everything and everyone for my lack of success. I didn't know enough people. No one would respect me because I was so young. I blamed the product. I blamed the company. I blamed the economy. I blamed everyone but myself. And that's supposed to be like something he learned from, because later he hits it really hard with this thesis he has, which is like, if you fail, you have the power not to fail, which we know statistically is false, and we'll go into why. But he's setting that up from the beginning of like, I was blaming everyone but myself, when in reality, it was my fault, and if you fail, it's also your fault. It quickly becomes clear that this book has a couple different theses that it's trying to posit to us. So the main thesis of this book is that when you join network marketing, everyone is your prospect. So he never refers to people, like he talks about like friends and family sometimes in kind of a passive sense, but everyone is a prospect. So whenever he talks about an interaction you have with a person, the other person are always referred to as the prospect. So that's predatory to begin with, but we'll get into that when we get to that section. Also, the other thesis that's in this is that everything in life is kind of within your control, which is another, we talked about toxic positivity, we've talked about how that leads to a victim blaming mindset, but that's the other thing in here, which is that everything is within your control. If you failed and you blamed someone else, that means you just didn't go down this right path, or you just didn't do this hard enough, or whatever. So that's kind of what he sets up in the first chapter, called Network Marketing Isn't Perfect, It's Just Better, is him setting up this thing that says MLMs and network marketing are better than every other business structure. Here are all the other business structures. I'm going to point out all the flaws in those and then tell you why network marketing is great. And this chapter is not only false and not only inaccurate in a lot of ways, it also doesn't make logical sense. Like, he'll like set up a point and then refute it with something that's not related to it. So the arguments aren't really done in a logical way either. So we're going to talk about this. He starts off sounding like an ad from the beginning. Do you feel restless? Do you feel unsatisfied? Do you feel there must be a better way when it comes to your work and the way you make a living? Like, that's how he starts off. And then he says, there is a better way, but it's not what you learned in school. So from the beginning set up, what you learned in school is wrong. I have the answers that college wouldn't give you. We know how that goes. Disparaging people who put in the actual coursework to get credentials in their field to be like, I'm the one with the answer. And then I just found, this isn't really related, but I just found this funny, where he said, as I travel and speak around the world, I like to play an audience participation game. I ask people to help me create the ultimate business and tell me the specific things they'd like to have in that business and the things they'd like to avoid. And I was like, things we want to have and things we want to avoid. Things we want to keep and things we want to release. Does that sound like Rachel Hollis's free course that came with her book? Didn't see that coming? I'll link up in the cards. I did the video where I took the course that came along with the book. And that was like a lot of the course was this exercise. So it's like, not only did your course have no value, but you're using an Eric Worre exercise in it. God damn, Rachel. He makes this list of the things that people want to keep and avoid in their businesses. What they want to keep, for example, the blue marlin, and what they want to release, such as the sea bass. And what he says is things people don't want, right? People want no boss, no commute, no alarm clock, no employees, no politics, no compromises, no discrimination, no educational requirement. I was like, who are you talking to? Because most people I know don't mind these things for the most part. Like, maybe workplace politics sounds annoying, or like workplace discrimination. Obviously nobody wants that. But some of these things, like no boss, a lot of people don't want to have to be a self-starter. A lot of people are happy working at someone else's company, getting to do a specialized career that they're trained in and are happy to do. That is some people's goal. Not everybody's goal is to be a big CEO or a big, like the big cheese in charge of everything, right? That's why, like, plenty of people are fine with that. No educational requirement, that makes no sense. So many people's perfect career would be one that they are proud of the fact that they are the expert who is knowledgeable and qualified to do that. So already he's setting up the argument of this is what the people want, but I don't think this is actually what people really want. Like, I think he's making this up. And then he talks about what people come up with as things that they ideally would want in their business. Each of these things that people listed that they would want in their business is not something you actually can get in an MLM, so I'm not sure where he's going with this. So, well, first of all, he just starts with something positive. That's what it says. What do people want? Something positive. Like, okay, yes, everyone wants something, like, I want good things. I want a job that is good. I don't want a job that is bad. Yeah, no shit. Okay. And then the next one is great product or service. And I'm like, I don't know how many MLMs are going to provide you with a great product or service. Many of these products are like we've talked about the quality with some of the makeup from Unique. We talked about like LuLaRoe, the leggings tear, the Monat hair care that makes your hair fall out. Like, so the great product or service I'm already not really sold on, but okay. Unlimited income. That is such a lie. Unlimited income. So the unlimited income thing is kind of as we know, it's a lie that basically means like you are getting paid on commission, and therefore, if you were to theoretically sell infinite products, you could make infinite income. That exists just in life in general too. Like, we all have the ability to make infinite income, but there are barriers in place to that. So it's not actually infinite. There is a cap, but it's not a cap that just because like a person like your boss doesn't set the cap doesn't mean that the cap doesn't exist based on market demand, right? Economics is a thing. So income is never actually going to be unlimited. That makes absolutely no sense. Time freedom, this is one of those victim blaming things too, where it's like you join this because you want time freedom. And then the rest of the way throughout, it basically talks about how you need to do these insane levels of constant hustling if you expect any degree of success. So the time freedom thing is a straight up lie too. Contribution to worthy causes. What MLMs do we know that contribute to worthy causes? Now, I don't mean like, oh, this one donated some of their corporate money to a charity or whatever. Like, whatever. MLMs themselves, these companies themselves, are not doing work that matters. They're not. Selling skincare, selling leggings, selling essential oils that are probably going to burn through your skin. It's not meaningful work. Sorry. And then low startup costs. It's like, okay, if you're looking for the ideal career, I guess like to start your own business with a low startup cost, but you can do that by like selling some kind of service that you create yourself. You could, sell a service of a skill that you know how to do, and then your startup cost would basically just be whatever filing fees to register your company, and that's usually like in the low hundreds. So these MLMs, their startup costs are nothing to write home about. And so just all of this is like, I don't think you're going to get any of these things in an MLM. So I don't know why he even listed these things. So then he breaks down the 5 types of business models that exist outside of network marketing. So he talks about blue collar, white collar, sales, traditional business ownership, and investing. And then he just like lists all the cons of each one to basically be like, so this doesn't fit our perfect career, right? Because like on this page, we listed what would be a perfect career for us. Here's the traditional business models that aren't network marketing. Now I'm going to go through and tell you why each of these will fail as this perfect career. So basically shitting on every kind of job that isn't an MLM, right? When he talks about white collar jobs, he like strangely mischaracterizes them, because I have a lot of friends. He defines white collar work as like work that you do in an office, like work that isn't manual labor. And I have a lot of friends that work in like computer software development. I have people that work in like marketing and advertising and research and things like that. And none of this from any of their experiences is true, but here's what he says. He likes to categorize people, right? Like I said earlier, how he defines everyone you talk to as a prospect. He also breaks down, like he's like always like, oh, people in this can always be broken into 2 categories. And that's kind of how he looks at people in general, which is weird. But he says that white collar workers can all be broken into 2 categories, which are achievers and hiders. Which is weird. Let's not just label all humans with 1 or 2 words. This seems a little bit reductionist, but okay, dude. So here's what he says. The moment a person decides to be an achiever, they become a target. Their boss sees them as threatening to their job, so they start to hold them down or take shots at their reputation. Their peers see them as a person who will either embarrass them or keep them from getting a promotion, so they start to do what they can to undermine their accomplishments. So to remain an achiever and survive this hostile environment, a person must be good at one thing that has nothing to do with productivity, and that's politics. They must learn how to navigate the political world by diminishing their enemies and strengthening their relationship with powerful people. In fact, some of the most successful people in the corporate world aren't achievers, they're politicians. And I'm like, where did you just pull that out of your ass? Because literally no one that I know that has worked in a white collar corporate job has had that experience. Like, that is, maybe if you worked in high volume sales, which I have, and that was a hot mess, and I'll go into that. I do not recommend that kind of job. But if you worked in like, my friends who work in like software development who are just working in office for a big company, it's not like this at all. Like, he's making it sound so toxic when that doesn't really happen. It's just kind of a fear-mongering tactic. Then he talks about sales, and so he says some people choose to get away from being an employee and get involved in a sales career. And I just wrote, what? Because if you're a salesperson for a company, you are employed by that company. Most of these companies will give you a base plus commission. You're on their payroll. So I don't know what he means by getting away from being an employee. So then he talks about the main con in sales seems to not have anything to do with the model itself. It seems to have to do more with mismanagement of money, which can really happen in any industry. But what he basically says is that a lot of people that work in sales, they start becoming really successful. They're making high commission checks. Then they immediately upgrade their whole lifestyle. They get a fancy car, big house, go on vacations, whatever. And then it says, then the company changes the compensation plan. Their territory gets reduced. A competitor shows up. They lose their best customer. The economy goes into recession. New technology makes their offer less valuable, or government regulations change their industry. So what he's talking about here is just poor money management. Like, if you're in sales and you start spending tons and tons of money just because you have a couple good months, that's not because sales as a model is flawed. It's because you spend, like, so that's weird that he used that as a criticism of sales. And what's even weirder is when he talks about here about how, like, oh, the company could just change their compensation plan. You could just lose your territory. You could get a new competitor. The economy could go into recession or something like. Literally all of those things can happen in MLMs and network marketing too. So I'm just so lost as to why he thinks that, okay, these are negative things about the sales job. So why would network marketing be any better? He never even later, like, he never tries to even prove that these things can't happen in network marketing. He just, like, assumes we'll forget that point. But if these things make sales dangerous, wouldn't those things also make network marketing dangerous? Because literally all of those things can also happen in a network marketing company. So I do not know what point he was going for here. So he says, when that happens with the big lifestyle they've developed, now 40 hours a week isn't enough to pay the bills, so they go to 50 hours, then 60, then 70, and then their life gets very small. Yes, they have the stuff, but they don't have the time to enjoy it. And I'm just like, that can happen in an MLM too. How is that any different? For example, if you sign up in an MLM and someone's downline, what if the company closes? We saw this with Advocare recently, right? Advocare had an upline and downline structure, and then the FTC cracked down on them, being like, hey, you guys are showing that most of your people who work for you are making more money through recruitment and through downline commissions than they are through actual sales direct to a customer who's not involved in the company, and that is getting dangerously close to what we call a pyramid scheme, so therefore you cannot do this anymore. And they got fined $150 million, and then as a result, Advocare took away their upline and downline structure and are now just direct to customer. They don't have the pyramid or the MLM model anymore, which I think is a vast improvement. Now it's more like sales. That was proof that could happen. That industry is risky too. So what about someone who's sitting at the top of the Advocare pyramid and they adjusted their lifestyle to that, and then the company's like, nope, we're shutting down now. You lost your whole downline. Like, is it better for society and better for business ethics? Yes, but that person just lost all of that in those cases. That literally what he said was a risk within a non-MLM company also happened to a ton of people in an MLM company, because you don't have control over what people who own the actual company do. They can do whatever they want. They can shut down the company one day. You want to join, I don't know, LuLaRoe, you want to join Mary Kay, whatever. The owner of that company, the CEO, could turn around tomorrow and say, we're closing our doors. I'm not saying they're going to, but they could. Or the economy could change. And then later he talks about how we shouldn't blame the economy. But like literally right here, he said that the economy getting bad is a risk in a sales job. So it's like, stay consistent with your points. Like, you're having to argue things that directly contradict each other just to try to make MLM sound reasonable. That should be a red flag. We're about to take a look at what Eric Worre thinks of actual small businesses, and y'all know, I'm a small business owner. This channel is all about support small businesses, so I'm already losing. I don't want to fly off the handle. Got a little bit of whipped cream left in the bottom of this iced coffee. Here are Eric Worre's thoughts on traditional business ownership, on what people like I do. Here are his thoughts. Traditional business ownership. Some people opt for the big dream, building their own business while they are the boss and they call the shots. It's an exciting idea, isn't it? Here's the reality for most people. Step 1, they use their life savings, take on new debt, and many times borrow money from friends and family to get started. Step 2, they take on more debt in the form of leases and personal guarantees in just about every direction. Step 3, now instead of focusing on what they're good at, let's say they were great at sales and decided to start their own business, they have to be all things to all people. They act as an attorney for legal matters, an accountant for financial matters, babysitter for employee matters, negotiator for purchasing matters, and a collection agency for accounts receivable matters. They even get to take out the garbage. They are doing everything but selling, which is what they were good at in the first place. Step 4, they struggle. Instead of owning the business owns them. They are the first person to work and the last person to leave. And after everyone gets paid, they might be able to take home enough money to pay their own bills, let alone reduce the debt they incurred to start the business in the first place. Step 5, they succeed or they fail. They either hit a point down the road where the business is successful or they fail, many times filing bankruptcy and falling back into a corporate or sales job. And even if they are successful, that usually means a lifetime of long hours and stress. Sounds romantic, doesn't it? If you haven't started your own business before, ask friends who have if this description isn't accurate. Well, guess what? I started my own business. I, in fact, am 3 years into owning my own business. So I'm the friend you can ask. Ask me, guys. Ask me. Is that description that Eric Worre just gave accurate? No, it's absolute bullshit. Everything he said is wrong. Let's go into this. Real small business owner reacts to gross mischaracterization in the name of network marketing. So, I didn't take on any debt to start Forever Home Friends. I used crowdfunding. In fact, you can use crowdfunding. You can use Kickstarter. You can use GoFundMe. You can use Indiegogo. You can use one of those sites and take pre-orders and get your initial startup costs covered. I have a chapter about it in my own small business book called #SavvyBusinessOwner. Link in the description below. The book is way better than Eric Worre's book. That's just how I'm going to advertise myself from now on. I'm going to review these shitty scammer books and be like, buy mine, it's better. And that's how I'll make my living. Anyway, now he talks about how we don't focus on what we're good at, and it's like, no, dude, have you heard of having employees? He even mentions having employees, so it's like, why would you be doing all of those jobs when your employees could, right? Like, I have an accountant for my business. I don't do my own business accounting. I pay my accountant to do my accounting. I have a social media manager. I pay my social media manager to do marketing and management, right? You have employees. I'm not good at physically printing books on a printing press. So guess what? I pay a printing service to do that. So no, you don't have to do every single thing. You can absolutely focus on the parts that you're good at. Step 4, they struggle. Literally, the majority of this book is about all the struggles you're going to run into in network marketing and how you can overcome them. So guys, I hate to break it to you, but life is a struggle. There is nothing in life that is going to be easy, so just get used to it. If they're successful, that usually means a lifetime of long hours and stress. Here's the thing. A lot of people who start their own business do it because that is what they want for their life. They don't want anything else. Like for me, I want to be an author, a small business owner, an artist, a video creator. These are the things that I like to do. There is nothing else I would be rather doing. I prefer this to going on vacation. Literally, I get more excited than if someone said, hey, Savvy, we're going to go on a trip to Europe tomorrow. I'd be like, it's a freaking pandemic. But regardless, like, I'm more, this is what excites me. This is what motivates me in life. So the fact that I work all the time on all of this, like, that is a positive. That's a net positive. I'm living the dream that I get to do this all the time. And if that's not how someone else feels, that's totally fine. But he said, ask any business owner, right? He said, like, ask friends if this from my perspective and from other business owners I know who that is what they want for their life, this isn't accurate because business owners don't want financial and time. Maybe some business owners want financial and time freedom. I don't care about that. For me, I want to be able to pay my own bills. I don't care about getting a big house or I don't own even a car. I live in the city and I take public transit. Well, now that there's a pandemic, I just don't go anywhere. But before that, I just took public transit, and I prefer that to working somewhere else that would make me more money. So no, this isn't accurate. You're mischaracterizing people's actual motivations for what they do. Then he talks about investors. I really don't give a fuck. And then he talks finally about network marketing is better. So he starts off by talking about how network marketing benefits the company that is actually creating and trying to sell the product, which is pretty obvious to me. It's like they don't have to pay anyone to do their work. And that's basically what he admits, but he tries to frame it as a positive thing, which is so weird. So he says, companies have choices. They can dive into the ever-fragmented world of advertising to get the word out. They can hire a large and expensive sales force to sell their products or services, or they can utilize network marketing to tell their story to the world. So basically, he's framing this as they can hire a sales force to sell their product, or they can utilize network marketing. They can hire people and pay them for the work that they're doing, or they could pay people solely based on results. Getting paid solely based on results is not a positive, right? Because it's like, if you're not getting the results that they want immediately, you are going to go a long time working and not getting paid. So it's like you could work so many hours and not even earn close to minimum wage for your work. This is ridiculous that he's trying to frame this as, see, it's better. It's better! God damn, I should have drawn a vomit emoji on this. So what he says here is, what that means for you as an entrepreneur is that you can receive all the benefits of traditional business ownership without the typical risks. How? He never explains how. What he says is, first of all, he says you can receive all the benefits of traditional business ownership. He never says what benefits those are or how you can receive them, because here, let me think of some benefits to traditional business ownership that I've experienced that you absolutely can never get in an MLM. For example, I get to control what my products look like. As a business owner, I control the designs for the books. I get the final say in the designs of how my stuffed animals look. I can choose the manufacturing company that produces them. I can choose the designer for them. I can choose how I want to appear on social media. I can choose what website service I want to sell through. I can choose what events I go to. I can choose the branding. I can choose my brand colors. I can choose who I want to target for my audience. I can choose everything. I can choose the prices. I can choose how much I want to sell my book for. I can choose how much I want to sell my stuffed animal for. I can choose how I want the toys to look. I can 3D model and print them myself, which I do because I like doing that. I think it's fun. I can choose everything. I can choose how my products are. I can choose how much they cost in an MLM that is set for you. They tell you what products you have, that you have no control over the manufacturing of them. You get what they give you, especially like we look at like LuLaRoe, where people were getting these leggings that they didn't want. They're like, as a LuLaRoe business owner, I want to fill my store with 100 pairs of black leggings. And the people who are, the upline and the people who own the company were like, no, you will get whatever patterns or colors we give you. How does that make sense? That is not business ownership. In business ownership, you have choice. You are the one in control. So all of those benefits are stripped away from you in an MLM. You know what else is taken away from you? The ability to be the sole owner of that product. So if someone else pops up and is like, you know what, I'm going to sell a stuffed animal that looks exactly like yours. I am going to sell a book that has the exact same words and pictures in it as yours. We call that plagiarism. We call that intellectual property theft, and I could sue their ass. In an MLM, you are supposed to sell the same product as not just the other people around you, but you are supposed to bring in other people to continue to sell that product. So you do not get the benefit of being able to stand out in the market as the one person with a superior product, because you are supposed to recruit the other people who are supposed to also sell that product along with you with no designated sales territories. How the fuck are those the benefits of traditional business ownership? Tell me, Eric. He never does, because this dude can't fucking write a book. Then he hits us with the straw man argument. Watch my videos on Classically Abby or my videos on Rachel Hollis's new book, Didn't See That Coming. I'll link them up in the cards if you want to learn more about my thoughts on straw man arguments. But basically what he says here is, he's like, here's what the catch is to network marketing. Obviously, it's not perfect. Obviously, something's wrong. So, okay, I admit it, guys. It's not too good to be true. I admit it. There is one flaw to network marketing, and it's this. You must accept a temporary loss of social esteem from ignorant people. Ignorant people like me who run a small business full time. I'm so fucking ignorant. Wow. So I'm calling this a straw man because people who are anti-MLM would not say that that is the catch. Like, that's not actually the argument against it. He made that the fuck up. So he's like, for a while, people still living in and trying to function in the old system will think less of you. And then he says, you are seeing the future before it becomes apparent to everyone else. You are the smart one. You are the person taking an action to live a better life. So I don't understand where this whole idea of traditional business ownership is the old way, network marketing is the new and innovative and futuristic way. Where did that argument come from? Because I've heard Grant Cardone make this argument too, where it's like, this is the future. People are scared of it because it's new. MLMs are not new. The original pyramid scheme was Charles Ponzi, who was arrested in 1920. Dude, he was arrested in 1920 for this shit. And even if you want to say, oh, well, that's a pyramid scheme, this is an MLM, we have a product, he was just running an illegal investment structure. Okay. You want to talk about the Tupperware parties of the 80s? You want to talk about Uncle Rico and Napoleon Dynamite driving over a Tupperware bowl with his car? You want to talk about going to a Mary Kay party in the 1960s where the one lady would host the Mary Kay party in your neighborhood? Like, these structures have been around for decades. And I would say that back then, these type of companies work a lot better than they do now, because back in the day, these functioned a lot more like a direct sales type of job because everyone had a territory. Your neighborhood had one Avon lady. Your neighborhood had one Mary Kay lady. You're not going to have someone within the same neighborhood trying to compete for the same, you would recruit someone in a different neighborhood, if at all. I think the focus was less on recruitment until the internet got involved, and now you can ship things anywhere, and now you can find customers on social media. Well, now the market is completely oversaturated and the focus shifted to recruitment. So I would say, if anything, network marketing is the old system. The internet has rendered it obsolete. So here's the last paragraph of the first chapter. I am going to read it and then we are going to pick it apart. So he says, some people like to say perception is reality. I hate that saying. All great leaders in the world have ignored it for centuries. What if Nelson Mandela had said perception is reality? What if Martin Luther King Jr. had said perception is reality? What if Steve Jobs had said perception is reality? The great leaders of the world said reality is reality, and I'm going to do everything possible to help people understand that fact. The truth is, network marketing isn't perfect, it's just better, and that's reality. We start off with an appeal to emotion in this. We start off with talking about great world leaders. I wouldn't consider Steve Jobs a great world leader. He's an innovator, but people like Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King who have brought about actual tangible change that has created a better life for many people in the world. So he starts off by appealing to people who would look at those people and be like, yeah, you know what? I agree with them. And if you're saying that their argument is supportive of you, but the argument he brings up with them is completely unrelated. So he's saying that those people wouldn't say perception is reality, right? And I appreciate the point on the surface, because when we look at this idea of perception as reality, that's what leads us into this toxic positivity rabbit hole. The idea that we can just perceive a situation differently. So it's true that that reality is reality. So what he's saying makes sense on the surface, but what he extrapolates from that is completely unrelated. He might as well have said, these world leaders didn't believe perception is reality, and therefore cheesecake is green. And you'd be like, what? That's the level of how much this argument doesn't connect. So he says that, and then he says, the truth is network marketing isn't perfect, it's just better, and that's reality. So he doesn't explain how that's reality. He doesn't explain how that is factually true in the same way that it's not just a perception. And he also focuses on this idea, which is also the title of the chapter, network marketing isn't perfect, it's just better. He focuses on the idea that it's better than other jobs, even though it's not perfect. However, in this chapter, he has done nothing to prove that network marketing is actually better. What he has done, which you might miss if you're not looking for it, because this book is written in a really manipulative way, so it would be very easy to miss this, is the way he wrote this was being, here are the negatives of all of these jobs. He started it off, right, by talking about what would create the perfect job. So these are the things that would create the perfect job. He then goes on to show how each business model outside of network marketing, each of the other traditional business models, does not provide that perfect career based on what his audience has said they want. Then at the end of the chapter, he says that network marketing also isn't perfect. So then what was the point of proving that all of those jobs weren't perfect if you were going to then admit, okay, network marketing also is? You didn't show a single way that network marketing is better than those jobs, because he never compared directly. He never said, this job doesn't have this. All he did was show that those jobs weren't perfect. Great, you showed they weren't perfect. Then he says network marketing isn't perfect either, it's just better. But he never did a point-by-point comparison to show how they're... And you know he didn't, because I was able to quickly go through this and say, but the flaws of this job are also present in network marketing, and the flaws of this job are also present in network marketing. So, like, nothing he said... Like, this chapter is useless. It makes a point that is never backed up. It talks in a full circle and ends where it started. Does that make sense? Is my point making sense? Because this chapter sure as hell wasn't. So, chapter 2, we're just gonna skip because this video's going on too long already. We're gonna move on to chapter 3 called Like Any Profession, You'll Need to Learn Some Skills. Then he breaks down 3 skills that you will need to succeed in network marketing. So he says there are 3 primary elements to your network marketing business. First, you have the company's products. If some people are successful in marketing those products and you're not, it isn't the product's fault. In other words, everyone in your company has the same products to offer the public. So those 2 statements contradict each other, but he words them in a way where it doesn't seem like they do. So he says, you know, if some people are successful in marketing those products and you're not, it's not the product's fault. And then following that, he says everyone has the same products to offer the public. So in the first sentence, he's basically implying it's your fault, and then in the other sentence is saying this is specifically designed to oversaturate the market, which by definition would mean it's not your fault. So he has no acknowledgement of the idea that of market oversaturation or the fact that it exists, because it does exist. There's supply and demand in this world. It's the most basic business concept, supply and demand. And if you have too much of a supply and too little of a demand, the value is worthless. So he's talking about everyone has the same products. Okay, wow. Now we have such an extravagant supply of products. Now, if you fail to sell those, it's your fault. Well, no. There was not enough demand to meet the supply for the product. So in a sense, it was the product's fault because the product didn't have a high enough demand. Does that make sense? This point completely is a self-contradiction. Then we go on to point 2, which says, second, you have the company's compensation plan. If some people are making a lot of money and you're not, it isn't the compensation plan's fault. But he never even addresses, not in this section, but in this entire book, he doesn't address the variable of when you joined. He's basically trying to make it so he's like, okay, we're eliminating all variables. There's no different products. That's consistent. There's no different compensation plans. That's consistent. So he's trying to say, look, it's consistent for everyone. You are the only variable. So if you don't succeed, it was your responsibility. When in reality, he's leaving out the biggest variable of all, which is when you joined the company. How many people were already in the company when you joined? He's leaving that out and doesn't even address it and never mentions it in this book. And I can't read your mind, Eric, but I think the reason he doesn't mention it is that the entire model falls apart the second you bring that up. So he's like, oh, it's the same for everyone. No, the biggest variable in this is how many other people already are in the company selling the exact same thing as you, creating this competition. The third element is the most important, and that element is you. You are really the only variable. Everyone has the same product and the same compensation plan, but you are going to be the difference between success and failure. Again, completely ignoring, not even putting the idea into the reader's head that when you joined and how many people already were in the company when you joined, acting like that's not a factor. It's absolutely a factor. The fact is there are a limited number of people in this world who are going to be interested in this. And then he says, in fact, in network marketing, there is something of an epidemic going on. People just love to blame their upline, the people above them in the structure, for all their problems. people actually blame the structure itself. People blame the structure of the upline and down, not their specific upline. They blame the concept of uplines and downlines. So again, it's a straw man where he's saying people love to blame this. No, people blame something else entirely. Now we are going to move on to the section called Finding Prospects. As I mentioned earlier, every single human being is a prospect according to Eric. On page 34, he says, include every person you can think of. If they are negative, put them on your list. If you hate them, put them on your list. If they're your best friend, put them on your list. If they've said, I'll never be involved in network marketing, put them on your list. If they're 98 years old, put them on your list. If they're 18 years old, put them on your list. That's some predatory shit. Do not go around trying to recruit elderly people or people fresh out of high school into network marketing. Don't do it or I will decimate you. Step 2. In step 2 in Finding Prospects, he does another self-contradiction that is never addressed. So he says right here, have you ever heard of the concept that we're all only 6 contacts away from any person in the world? 6 degrees of separation. I'm not sure if that's a myth or if it's true, but I believe in the concept. If he talks about how 6 degrees of separation could theoretically connect you to tons of prospects, by that logic, if we are assuming that 6 degrees of separation is true, wouldn't that also mean that everyone is already less than 6 degrees away from another rep within that very same company already? Therefore, oversaturation, right? That leads directly to that assumption. Again, that's never addressed. Now we're going to move on to the chapter where he talks about inviting your prospects to understand your product or opportunity. So kind of the first point of contact when you're trying to recruit someone. So he talks about how when he first started in network marketing, he was struggling to get people's attention in a point of contact and struggling to get them to want to hear more and come back. So he says, after 3 or 4 years of frustration, I came to my defining moment and started studying successful people in MLM to see what they did. What I found surprised me. They weren't hunters, they were more like farmers. They built relationships, they built friendships. They learned how to build trust with the people they met and were able to skillfully transfer the belief they had about their products and opportunity. Their goal wasn't to immediately recruit their prospects. Their initial objective was to educate their prospects on what they had to offer and then let those prospects decide if it was something they wanted to do. That's worse, in my opinion. He's talking about how people were straight up forming relationships with new people, forming friendships and never even bringing it up. Forming this friendship and this connection as if this was nothing to do with network marketing, and then one day starting to slowly warm that person up, that they were going into the relationship with that as their hidden agenda the entire time. So that is a wild way to start treating every human interaction. So he says, this was a huge shift in strategy for me and I began to look at things differently. I began to put myself in the prospect's shoes and thought about what would be attractive to me and alternatively what would cause me to put up my defenses. So how exhausting is that of a way to look at human interaction? Every time you interact with another person, you have to have this entire other motive behind you. You have this entire thought process of you're constantly trying to imagine what the other person's thinking, imagine what steps you can take. Like, I'd rather just be friends with you. Jeez. Now we're going to take a look into what the script looks like. We're getting an inside look at what people are trained to tell people when they're trying to recruit them. And this someone like Eric, dude, he's actually giving them this advice. So, he gives these steps to how to create a good pitch. That doesn't seem like a pitch. It just seems like a conversation using techniques to kind of get into someone's head. So these are basically be in a hurry. It says people are always more attracted to a person who has things going on. I was like, really? I find that off-putting. I like when someone's like, Savvy, I've made a lot of time for you, rather than being like, hey, I'm in a hurry, I gotta go, but real quick, want to buy some Herbalife? Like, no, fuck off. Anyway, then step 2, compliment the prospect. Not the friend, not your connection. Compliment the prospect. There is only prey. And this felt kind of like pickup artist bullshit here, where he was like, you want to like have a compliment that gets into their head. This is like a psychological thing. It's weird. It's so creepy. He's like, so examples of potential compliments for your prospects, right? You've always been supportive of me, and I appreciate that so much. You've been very successful, and I've always appreciated the way you've done business. And then this one, dude. You have an amazing mind for business, and you can see things other people don't see, right? All of these, have you guys seen those posts of, I've seen a lot of these on the AntiMLM subreddit. There's these posts where people don't fill in, like when they're cold messaging a million people and they don't forget to fill in the blanks of what they're supposed to change for each person. And it'll be like, hi, name. I thought of you because you are so characteristic. And I was like, this is basically what this is. You're just like, oh, hi, you're so characteristic. Oh my God. And so then he just goes through all these different ways to try to manipulate people into taking your invite for something. And based on the exact script that he gave, I tried this. I tried using the script.
Hey, Chewie. Okay, Chewie, here, okay, listen, I would consider you, you're more than a good friend. There's a good friend. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna read you the good friend one. Hey, Chewie. Okay. I'm running out the door, as you know, because it's gonna be to take you on a walk. I'm running out the door, but I need to talk to you real quick. Chewie, you have a second? Chewie, you've always been supportive of me, and I appreciate that so much. I started a new business, and I'm really nervous. Chewie, wow, you're just so rude, you don't even listen. But Chewie, I'm in a hurry to go take you on a walk. So before I get going, I need to practice on someone friendly. Would you mind if I practice on you? Hey, Tyler. Hi. So, you're walking the dog, so I know you don't have a lot of time to talk, but it's really important that I reach you. Listen, okay, you are one of the most financially intelligent people I know, and I've always respected that about you. When you told me you didn't like your job, were you serious? Were you serious or joking around? My employer watches this. I did not say that. Okay, but here's the thing, is if you don't like your job, I found an exit strategy. I have a CD that describes what I'm talking about better than I can. If I gave you the CD, would you listen to it? I have a disc drive. Do you have a disc drive? We don't have a disc drive. Okay, but when do you think you could listen to it by? Never. I don't have a disc drive. Would you think would Tuesday work? No. So if I called you Wednesday, will you listen to the CD by then? No. Okay, I'll get back to you on Wednesday. What's the best number for me to call? I love you.
All right, y'all, I've been filming this video for like 2 hours and my voice is gone. And I have a page where I drew a picture of the coronavirus saying, I'll attend the MLM conference too. I had a lot of fun defacing this book. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you again to my Patreon supporters. I'm glad we got to take a little look into this book to see what the training is actually telling people to do. And a special thank you to Kat Benson from Unlock Nutrition for mailing me this book. Don't forget to check out her channel linked in the description below. I'll see you guys again soon. In the meantime, don't forget to support small businesses. Bye, friends.
Hit you some nuts.
There was lots of memes. Makes me wonder if I should take up lesbianism.
Chicago. You guys asked for it.